Today's edition of You Can't Make This Stuff Up focuses on University of Pennsylvania Law School professor Amy Wax. Ms. Wax is notorious for having made derogatory racist comments, most recently about Asian Americans, but also about Black Americans. I'm sorry to say that I'm going to have to give Amy my coveted Pendeja de la Semana award for her atrocious behavior towards fellow Americans. My wife and I are both graduates of the University of Pennsylvania. I received my PhD degree there, and my wife received her law degree from the University of Pennsylvania. And I'm grieved to have to read this news article today, but I think it's important because I don't think what Ms. Wax talks about really represents the quality or character of the law school at the University of Pennsylvania. This article was posted earlier today on the NBC News site. It's an article by Tat Bellamy Walker. The Dean of the University of Pennsylvania, Carey School of Law, said he would seek sanctions against tenured law professor Amy Wax over discriminatory remarks she made about the Asian American community. Wax said earlier this month that the U.S. is better off with fewer Asians and less Asian immigration. Dean Ted Ruger said in a statement Tuesday that he had received multiple complaints since 2017, citing Wax's behavior as disruptive to students and the school community. Professor Amy Wax has repeatedly made derogatory public statements about the characteristics, attitudes, and abilities of a majority of those who study, teach, and work here. Ruger wrote, "The complaints assert that it is impossible for students to take classes from her without a reasonable belief that they are being treated with discriminatory animus." Ruger released a statement on the university's website 2 weeks ago condemning Wax's comments as thoroughly anti-intellectual and racist. A spokesperson for the university declined to comment further. At this time, as required by the university handbook and to preserve the integrity of the process, we will not make any public statements about the charges and proceedings until they have been completed, the spokesperson said in a statement to NBC News. It was in an interview last month on the economist Glenn Lowry's website, Blogging Heads TV, that Wax made her comments about Asians immigrating to the U.S. If you go into medical school, and I quote, "If you go into medical schools, you will see that Indians, South Asians are now rising stars. In medicine, they're sort of the new Jews, I guess. But these diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives are poisoning the scientific establishment and the medical establishment now," said Wax, 69, a tenured professor who is Jewish. Lowry published an email from a listener who criticized Wax's comments. He also allowed Wax to respond to the listener, and she said, "Maybe it's just the Democrats that love open borders, and Asians want more Asians here," she wrote. "Perhaps they, and especially their distaff element, are just mesmerized by the feel-good cow of diversity. I don't know the answer, but as long as most Asians support Democrats and help to advance their positions, I think the United States is better off with fewer Asians and less Asian immigration." Wax declined to comment on the law school's statement. It's not the first time Wax has made headlines for her inflammatory remarks. In 2006, faculty members at Penn Law condemned her stance against same-sex marriage. In a 2017 interview on The Glenn Show, Lowry's program on Blogging Heads TV, Wax said, "I don't think I've ever seen a black student graduate in the top quarter of the class. and rarely in the top half. Shortly afterward, Wax was barred from teaching first-year law courses. Now, the Academic Freedom Alliance, a nonprofit organization defending the rights of faculty members at universities and colleges, released a letter this month supporting Wax's right to free speech. Quote, I write on behalf of the Academic Freedom Alliance to express our firm view that Professor Wax should suffer no formal consequences as a result of these public statements, the group wrote. Regardless of what one thinks about Professor Wax's personal political views, the only appropriate action that the University of Pennsylvania should take in this situation is to publicly reaffirm the free speech rights of the members of its faculty. Penn Law students started a petition this month demanding that the school take action against Wax, citing her offensive and obviously racist statements. And in a letter, several Philadelphia City Council members asked University President Amy Gutman to further investigate Wax's position, saying her comments fuel hateful action and beliefs against Asian Americans. The sweeping, racially biased assumptions espoused by Professor Wax are not only intellectually dishonest, but feed into dangerous trends of rising animosity and scapegoating of Asian Americans, the letter said. And that's the end of the article. But I want to say that I could not agree more with that letter. As a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania, I am ashamed that this woman actually holds a teaching position there. Yes, she has a right to free speech. She can get out on the corner soapbox and say anything she wants, pretty much, short of shouting fire in a crowded theater. We all have those free speech rights. But rights come with responsibilities, and as far as I'm concerned, while your free speech rights are protected, you're not protected from the consequences of what you say. And the consequences of what she says are frightening. What she's essentially saying is that only certain people should be allowed into the country, regardless of how intelligent they are, regardless of how talented they are. Does she really think that the Asian Americans and the Southeast Asians who go to top medical schools like Harvard and Stanford and so on, at the University of Pennsylvania Medical School, which is one of the best in the country, does she really think that they are skating by on account of diversity? Does she think they are being graded any easier than other students in the classes? No, this is insane. The University of Pennsylvania has high standards, and as the dean of the law school said, she's completely wrong about her statements that no blacks have graduated in the top half of their class at the University of Pennsylvania Law School. Several have done well, and I am sad to say that I have had to award Ms. Wax my Pendeja de la Semana award for her attitude towards Americans who aren't of the same ethnicity that she had. And I want to remind her that 70 or 80 years ago, she would have had a damn hard job getting into law schools or medical schools here in the United States. By the way, she is a medical doctor as well as a law school professor, but she would have had a damn hard time getting into those institutions just because of the fact that she's Jewish. And as one who is in that situation, she ought to be a little bit more charitable towards people who are trying to make the most of the education that's available to them here in the United States. And frankly, I think, you know, if she were in my department, I used to be a department chair in a physics department, I would make sure that she was teaching at 6 o'clock in the morning and 10 o'clock at night, just to keep her out of the hair of students who are trying to get a decent education. In any case, I'd enjoy having your comments on this issue. And do you really think that we should give Amy Wax a pass for her discrimination against the students who may be sitting before her in their law school classes. Thanks for watching. I'd appreciate your comments. I'd appreciate your suggestions for future topics. And I would most welcome your likes and also your subscribing to my channel. Thank you again for watching.